In this video, we're going to be planting 3 of our favourite allium bulbs. Hi and welcome back to the garden. Today we're going to be planting one of our favourite alliums, Purple Sensation, and this one is something that we've grown for a very long time. We've used this for many years, and it gets to a beautiful height, 80 centimetres, and it's a lovely vivid purple, flowering in May. If you've never grown this variety before, we really do recommend it. We've grown it so many times over the years and it's just a stunning allium. What I'm going to start with, now this compost, it has got a little bit damp because it was left outside overnight in the trug, but it will be fine. We've added lots of grit to it because alliums don't like to be too wet. They're a bulb that really do not like to be wet. They're from the onion family, and they really do not like sitting in water. It's not a good idea. So what we're going to do is fill these pots up with the compost, and lots of grit in there, as I say. It's a really lovely day today, perfect day, and this is a very special video for us. What I'm going to do is try and top these up to the level where I want to plant the bulbs, and I'm going to plant the bulbs in like a little triangle in each pot. And the idea of this is that when they're up and ready to flower, that they're actually placed into the garden itself, and these will be planted into various spots in the garden as we begin to see spaces, because at the moment there's not very much space. Everything, as you can see behind me, you can't see space, and so it's better that we let these develop well into next year, and then as soon as we know that there's any space, we can plant them in, and they'll just be fantastic. That big splash of colour when we need it, late spring, very early summer, and May, they'll be there for us, and it's just going to be amazing. So I've got my compost in, my lovely gritty compost, that's important, remember, and now I'm going to plant the bulbs. So with the bulbs, what we're going to do is firstly always make sure that you plant your bulbs the right way round. So we know that with these alliums, we know that that's the top there, and the bottom is this little bit here where you see all these little roots. That's the bottom of the bulb. I'm going to plant these in. Like I said, we're going to do them in sort of like a little bit of a triangle. And because 3 is more than enough for this size pot. So pop those in, just like that. Really do recommend this variety. It's so beautiful and something that we've grown, as I've said, for many years. And I just think that it's going to be so lovely in May to see these beautiful bulbs in flower. And I'm using the cream of the crop. You probably noticed I'm just trying to choose the best bulbs in the pack. They're all going to be great. They'll all flower, but I'm just trying to choose the best ones. So we've got the bulbs in. So what we do is we just get the soil in on top of that. As long as the bulbs are roughly 3 times their depth. And these bulbs will be fantastic in May. And they're going to be such a welcome addition to the garden, when obviously we'll take them out of the pots and plant them into the borders when the time comes. But until then, they'll remain in these lovely pots. And it's probably, in my estimation, not so much, probably about 3 times, yeah. I've done these about 3 times the depth. They're supposed to be planted at least 3 times the depth, so. So what I'm going to do now is just put these little labels in. Now these have been prepared earlier. Paul's written these already for me, so he's been very kind to do that. So I'm just going to pop these in each of the corners, and then we're not going to forget what's growing in the pots. Obviously we'll know once they're growing, but in the meantime, until they come up through the soil, you know, we know exactly what they are. Now these bulbs here that we have left over are going to be for another special project, but we'll come back to that in another video. So Paul's up next with his 2 favourite allium bulbs, and he's going to be planting those with you. And what I'm going to do is take these away and clear the potting bench ready for Paul.
So our second favourite allium bulb is a very special one, and it is Allium christophii. And these are quite remarkable. So I'm going to plant these again in container because we haven't got space in the garden at the moment. Once things die back and we're able to see the spare ground, we will be able to plant some of these bulbs we're planting today into the garden. But for the time being, we're just getting a step ahead of ourselves so that we know that the plants are there when we need them to plant in the garden. So I'm going to use this big grey container, and again we're using some very gritty compost, and the grit has been added to make sure that this compost is free draining, because these allium bulbs, they do require sharp drainage. So if you don't have good drainage in your borders and you are planting these in your borders, it's a good idea to add some grit. It's also a good idea, if you haven't got great drainage in your border, is when you dig the planting hole for the allium, just put a nice layer of grit in the planting hole and put your allium bulb on top of that grit. It just makes sure that that bulb isn't sat in any water, because they will rot and it will not be a good thing. So I'm just going to place some compost in this container, and then get the allium bulbs ready for planting. So this was just a 5-pack of the Allium christophii. I'm just going to plant all 5 in this container, so you can see quite clearly that you've got the roots on this side, so that's going to be the bottom, and a very kind of small tip for the top. I'm just going to press them down into the compost below. And this variety of allium has the most beautiful pinkish purple flowers, and they can get up to 20 centimetres wide, and they come around June, July, so early summertime, and they make a really vivid and really statement flower for your borders and containers. And the actual plant gets a total of around 50 centimetres tall. But this variety does have one of the biggest type of heads out of the allium bulbs. I'm just covering those over. And these won't need watering for a few days, because the water in the compost will be plentiful for the time being. And last of all, just a label so we know what we have in this pot. And that's all we need to do. So we've come to our third and final allium bulb for this video, and this is Allium sphaerocephalon. It's a bit of a mouthful to pronounce. And these are a lovely small pure white bulb, and these are absolutely fantastic. These flower in July, so they're on the later side for this collection of alliums we're showing you today, and they have the most lovely drumstick flowered beautiful shape, and they have a a flower head that begins green, which then changes and matures to a lovely maroon red, and they naturalise beautifully within borders, and they're absolutely fantastic for making that scheme cohesive. They really do sing within the borders, and that lovely drumstick shape of the flower heads is fantastic and makes a really good contrast to a lot of the other flowers that are out at this time of year. So I've already prepared the containers ready, so I'm going to use these smaller containers for these, and I'm going to be planting perhaps about 7 in each pot. And again, when there's space in the borders and we know where we're going with things, we will plant them out into the actual borders and they can mingle with our existing flowers. So again, I'm going to place these on the surface of the compost and just press them down slightly. I'm just going to try and fit in, like I've said, 7 to this container. And these bulbs are a little bit more obvious in which way they are to plant, which way round they are. They're a bit like a teardrop kind of shape, and you can see this tufty bit at the top, which would be the top bit of the bulb. And just move them around until you've got good spacings. So this is an example of a bulb which, if you found a whole packet full of these in the garden centre, you would avoid. This has got a lot of discoloration, and when you press it, it just feels, it's not squishy, but it does feel like it could be quite hollow. Maybe peel some of that outer edge off, it might be okay, but there we go. So I'll give that a try, because now I've peeled that outer layer off, it might actually be okay. But what you're looking for is that nice white creamy skin and no squidginess. It needs to be solid, but that is solid, so it looks better than it first of all looked. So I'm just going to do the same in each of these pots. As the seasons come into a bit of an end, this is a wonderful thing to be doing at this time of year. It gives you that idea that there is a lot more to come. And you're getting in preparation for what's to come the following year in the springtime. Or in this case, these will be early summer. Okay, so that's as many pots as we need. I'm now just going to place some more of that gritty compost right over the top. Of each one. And then press that right down, making sure them bulbs have really good close contact with that compost. So what I'll do with these now is put these to one side in the garden and leave them. They'll start to come up. You will see some shoots probably before Christmas. These shoots will be coming up and they can be left all over winter. They don't need any protection whatsoever. They're very hardy bulbs, and that goes for all 3 that we've discussed today. When we do find space, we will plant them into the borders. So that's our top 3 alliums in this video. We've covered Allium Purple Sensation, Allium christophii, and also this one, which is Allium sphaerocephalon. All 3 are winners with us, and if you can plant these 3, you'll be rewarded with eye-catching, vivid, beautiful flowers from late spring into early summer. As the flowers fade, you have those beautiful eye-catching architectural seed heads, and they are brilliant for creating some lovely contrast within the midsummer, late summer and into the autumn, and they are fantastic. So I'm leaving it there for now. We have got some more bulb planting videos coming up, but I'd just like to say thank you for watching, and we will see you very soon on the next one. Take care and bye for now.